Hello, everyone. This is Carlos Casados with Hypnotherapy Breakthrough. Thanks for watching and tuning in. Today, we're going to talk about approaches for developing emotional resilience. So, resilience is this idea of being able to bounce back from a difficult thing. And the more resilience you have, the more flexibility you'll have with life, and the more you'll be able to experience because life can be a little complicated sometimes. To quote um, Forrest Gump, life is like a box of chocolates. So you never know what you're going to get. Sometimes you bite into one and you're like, that is not what I wanted. So that happens, and you can't always predict it. Sometimes you can, but very often you don't. This is why people are often shocked when bad things happen. We just don't have the perfect ability to precognitively know everything that's going to happen to us. That's just not how it works. Um, Sometimes we can predict, and sometimes we can't. So, how do we develop a strategy for being able to do this? And why am I even making this video? First off, this video is not a quick remedy. In fact, it's just the beginning of probably several videos I'll be making. And I'm only going to focus in on one or two elements here because we're not changing anything per se. What we're doing is we're exploring ideas. Okay, I want to be clear about that. What you're going to learn today is about finding the noble purpose behind the emotions so that you can begin to register why on earth would you even have felt it in the first place. Because once you know that, then you may be able to find an alternative that works just as well, if not better, that is more of a modern and elegant solution that the previous negative emotion was doing. So all negative emotions have a purpose. They are a natural response to what happens. They develop naturally through a little bit through nature and a little bit through nurture. Mostly the nurture, though, is what matters at this point because our natures are kind of already here, and the nurture is what we're working on. So how do we nurture ourselves to be the kind of person who develops emotional resilience? Well, it starts with accepting, right? You have to acknowledge what's happening, acknowledge what's there. You can't be in denial. There are people who go around spending a lot of energy, mental energy, staying in their heads and being very cerebral about their approach to life, which is very effective in some ways, and it's also ineffective in other ways because we aren't just a head, we're also a heart and a gut, right? We have feelings, and the emotions are what drive us to act, even when we don't recognize that. Emotions and feelings drive the impulses which create movements and decisions and choices. This is why sometimes people say emotion is energy in motion, right? It's kind of a cute way of understanding the word emotion. I like it. It makes sense. Um, so you can ask yourself, when you have a negative emotion, what is it driving you to do? So if you're getting a strong urge of anger, maybe that's driving you to do something negative, like get angry, scream, insult somebody, smash something, hit your head against the wall, whether it's hitting yourself or someone else, um, self versus other. Uh, Anger can drive you to act. All of the emotions can drive you to act. Okay. Um, so anger, sadness, fear, hurt, shame, guilt. There are other words you can use, and there are other emotions you could include. I'm starting off with those six because it's the easiest way to go about it. Is start with the idea. You'll be able to extrapolate on your own if you are serious about this work. Okay. So this is not for the faint of heart. This is for people who really, really want to improve and people who want to embrace their feelings but become better at handling them. I'm not suggesting or recommending that everyone has to be the same and everyone is even keeled, and that's that. There are differences, and I'm happy to accept and allow and include all different types here. But the general principle here is that we're wanting to improve, we want to get the best out of ourselves, and really we do our best when we can be really authentic about who we are and embrace that and try to shape that strategically in life and place it where it can do the most wonder, the most positive effect. So I myself will make an admission to the world that I am a highly sensitive person. This is not a surprise to any one of my friends or family, but it might be for some people who don't know me. They might see me as cerebral, intellectual. They might see me as logical and rational and analytical and all that stuff. I am all those things, but I'm also a very passionate person. I have deep, strong feelings and a lot of love and a lot of positive feelings, but I also have bad days. I have days when I have to process something really heavy, grief, loss, all of that. It hasn't been easy all the time, but the thing is, that's not the end of the story, that's the beginning. So we have these little chapters where things happen, and what I've discovered in my process is that if you embrace what the positive message of the feeling is, it makes it much easier to learn how to handle it. So, what do I mean by that? What I mean is a negative emotion like anger very well may have a message for you that you need to listen to. For example, maybe it's telling you to have stronger boundaries or express yourself more or lay down the law or whatever. Or get started on that project that you need to get started on. So don't dismiss the idea that the negative feeling that's been troubling you or plaguing you might have a purpose. Remember the idea of problems are solutions, because in a sense, the problem itself is already getting you something. So the anger is doing something for you already. In psychology, they sometimes call this secondary gain, and that's important. Secondary gain means that that the behavior is actually achieving something for you, something that benefits you in some way, even though it's not obvious, and even though it may include a primary gain, which is a negative, right? So the primary gain might be, oh my God, I just destroyed my relationship. But the secondary gain is now I don't have to do any self improvement because I'm not with anyone, right? So that's my point, is that you have to look for what's the secondary gain. Yeah, smoking's bad for me. I know that, but it also is the secondary gain is I don't have to do any work on myself again. You know, you can do this in a lot of different areas. When there's anger, if you're asking what's the message here, you can't really ask that question without asking what is it causing you to do. So if the anger is causing you to scream and yell, well, it could be that that's repeating a trauma that you had when you were a child. So maybe the secondary gain in that is that it's revealing to you an opportunity to re-experience some of the same rage that one of your parents had, but now you're the one doing it. Okay, so you learn the behavior, now you're repeating it, and now it's giving you an opportunity to feel it from the inside. You get the insider's view on it. There's a lot of wisdom in just embracing the feelings. It may loosen the model enough in your mind to enable you to then have a better strategy, but I'm not going there yet. I just want you to start off by maybe making a list. Start to categorize each of the emotions as you can, and maybe find parallel words that could mean a version of that same feeling. So let's say you put anger at the top of the paper. Maybe you include rage, you know, frustration, aggression, hatred, annoyance, aggravation, you know, and maybe you include a few of those words so that you know that you're talking about that category. And same thing with sadness. Maybe you go sadness is up at the top, but then you have grief, loss, melancholy, depression, you know, things like that. So if you do this, I would recommend going with anger, sadness, fear, hurt, shame, guilt. And let those be your primary categories for now. There are other emotions that are important, but I have found in practice that these are the primary offenders. They're the ones that show up repeatedly over and over again. And when you deal with them, it makes other things easier. Things like jealousy, you could say those are feelings perhaps, but when you've dealt with the other ones, it makes things like jealousy easier. So start with those. The question is, how is this potentially getting me something? So look for the secondary gain, like what is it prompting me or urging me to do? If there were no consequences, what would happen? Um, and how is that a message for me personally? Like, what is it really telling me to do? Like, if I attributed some kind of wisdom to it, what would be the wisdom that it's prompting me to understand? This is going to go a huge, um, excuse me, this is going to go a long way to helping you to develop emotional intelligence and emotional resilience. You really can't have emotional resilience without emotional intelligence. So this is the beginning. Start with that. Let me know what you find out about yourself, and if you have questions, ask it. Absolutely ask it. I'm totally willing to address those things in future videos. And by the way, this is the beginning of maybe a series of videos on this topic. So I'm going to talk about different things later. So let's stay on topic when you ask your questions. Um, how did what I just say land for you? Was there anything that was unclear that I could clarify for you? Do you need any further instructions about how to practice identifying and looking for um, what the hidden meanings are of the emotion? Do you understand the purpose in why I'm asking you to do it? That this is about um, gaining more self control ultimately, and improving your life. Um, and anything else you feel like you need to ask. So thanks again for listening. We're here at almost 12 minutes. I hope you have a wonderful experience and share what you've learned with me. Thanks again. Carlos Casados with Hypnotherapy Breakthrough. We'll see you soon.